West Germany would later fabricate a myth for the field marshal, but his own family fabricated a myth first, the myth of a cousin. It begins in 1913. A young lieutenant, Erwin Rommel, fathers a child. The mother, Walburga Stemmer. The daughter's name, Gertrud. Family pressure forces a separation. Rommel marries his fiancée. Walburga is abandoned. How does a military idol hide an illegitimate child in 1928? House arrest, disguised as kinship. The year is 1928. Walburga Stemmer dies. Official cause? Pneumonia. Family accounts suggest suicide. That same year, Rommel's legitimate son Manfred is born. The 15-year-old Gertrud is taken in by the Rommel family. She is now presented as a cousin. A domestic arrangement, a classified identity. That plaid scarf, seen across North Africa, it was knitted by Gertrud. Her father wore it for the cameras. A public symbol woven from a private lie. Gertrud carried this role until the year 2000. She married a man named Joseph Pan. She kept her father's correspondence, 150 letters. The texture of hidden ink preserved for decades, a paper archive of a buried life. After her death, her son, also named Joseph Pan, inherited the collection. He then made the letters public. The obsession with reputation that erased a private history now dictated the protocol of a public death. October 14, 1944. The state apparatus arrived at a quiet villa in Herrlingen. Generals Wilhelm Burgdorf and Ernst Meisel delivered the terms. A binary choice. Option 1, a public trial before the People's Court. Option 2, suicide. Inside the house, his wife Lucy, his 15-year-old son Manfred. They were in adjacent rooms. They heard the engine of the staff car stop, a sound linked to the Royal Air Force attack on July 17th, the attack that fractured Rommel's skull. Suicide came with conditions, state guarantees, a state funeral, full honors, a field marshal's pension for his family. The alternative was the People's Court, a legal instrument with a conviction rate approaching 100%. The verdict was predetermined: execution. A trial meant the state would annul all protection for his family. 10 minutes after the Afrika Korps tunic disappeared down the road, the phone rang. Lucy Rommel was informed her husband was dead. A state-managed performance began. How does a state stage a funeral for a man it just murdered? First, control the body. Rommel's corpse was driven to the Wagner-Schule Field Hospital. A physician noted the time. He also noted the signs of unnatural death: potassium cyanide, cellular asphyxiation. An autopsy was recommended. General Burgdorf refused. Autopsy denied. The official diagnosis was recorded: brain hemorrhage, a consequence of his wounds from Normandy. The deception was now clinical. On October 18, 1944, the Reich staged a full state funeral. Hitler declared a national day of mourning. Field Marshal Gerd von Rundstedt delivered the eulogy. He spoke of a hero lost to his wounds. He did not know the truth. Lucy Rommel, her son Manfred, and the adjutant Hermann Aldinger stood in attendance. They knew everything. They said nothing. The body was taken to Ulm's main crematorium. The casket was incinerated. Above the city, smoke rose. The ashes were interred. The state's myth was sealed. The official story held for 6 months. The front collapsed. American forces crossed the Danube. On April 27, 1945, soldiers of the U.S. Sixth Corps entered the villa. General Edward Brooks's offensive had shattered the German line. The state's myth became irrelevant. An intelligence officer was dispatched, Captain Charles F. Marshall. His mission: interrogate the widow. Lucy Rommel told him the truth: the arrival of the generals, the ultimatum, the poison. Her son, 16-year-old Manfred, provided a separate confirmation. The Allies had their first-hand record: a state-ordered death, documented by the victim's family. Lucy Rommel was not arrested. She was not charged. Her identity provided a shield. She was the widow of a military officer, not a political figure. She faced no denazification tribunal. The denazification tribunal never came. But the family's past still had to be managed. For Lucy, it meant selling a new narrative. For her son, it meant erasing his own. In 1943, 14-year-old Manfred Rommel joined the Luftwaffe, an anti-aircraft battery. His father had blocked him from the Waffen-SS. After Rommel's death, Manfred was dismissed from the Air Force, then conscripted into the Reichsarbeitsdienst. He deserted, surrendered to the French. How did a teenager from an anti-aircraft battery become a co-author of historical bestsellers? Through editing his father's letters. Editing his father's letters paid for his studies. Law school led to civil service, and in 1974, civil service led to power. Manfred Rommel joined the Christian Democratic Union, the CDU. He rose steadily through the administrative ranks of Baden-Württemberg. In December 1974, he ran for mayor of Stuttgart. His opponent, the Social Democrat Peter Conradi. Rommel won the runoff election. The industrial hum of Stuttgart was the sound of its economy, an economy built by foreign workers, an issue conservative politicians avoided. Rommel embraced it. He was now responsible for over 500,000 residents, a population larger than his father's entire army at El Alamein. 3 years later, October 1977, a message arrives from the Stuttgart Stammheim prison. Red Army faction leader Andreas Baader is dead. 2 other members are dead with him. A political crisis. Nobody wanted the bodies. The son of Hitler's favorite general, now facing a decision on the burial of far-left Marxist terrorists, his own party protested, fiercely. But Manfred Rommel's decision was purely administrative, purely technical. Against their outrage, he ordered the burial to proceed. The same pragmatic calculus from 1977 was now applied to foreign policy. A local solution scaled to a geopolitical function. Manfred Rommel cultivated relationships with the sons of his father's rivals, George Patton IV, David Montgomery. Why did the sons of Patton and Montgomery visit Stuttgart? The objective was specific. They were living symbols of an engineered Anglo-German reconciliation, instruments for West Germany's final integration into NATO. The process reached its apex in 1987. Manfred received the Jerusalem Medal, a formal acknowledgement of German-Israeli understanding. The international rehabilitation of the Rommel name was complete. He retired from politics, diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. His public life was over. Manfred Rommel died on November 7, 2013. In 2014, Stuttgart Airport was officially renamed Manfred Rommel Airport. The honor given in 2014 stood on a foundation poured in 1946. The architect was Hans Speidel, Rommel's former chief of staff, a survivor of the July 20th plot. In 1946, Speidel documented his objective, to make Rommel the hero of the German people. But by the early 1950s, with the Cold War escalating, his private goal became a state necessity. West Germany needed an army. Speidel's narrative was the key. He carefully framed Rommel as a resistor and himself as a co-conspirator, a victim of the regime, not a participant. This version of history was weaponized. Biographies flooded West Germany, the smell of fresh ink on thousands of copies. Hollywood films followed. Academic papers legitimized the narrative. Historian Peter Caddick-Adams called it the acceptable face of German militarism, a clean story, a necessary fiction. Scholars now label this period the Rommel Renaissance. The strategy paid off. The time between Speidel's first writings in 1946 and his appointment in 1957 shows a long-term operation, 11 years. In 1957, Speidel was appointed Supreme Commander of NATO's Allied ground forces in Central Europe. He became a key founder of the new West German military, the Bundeswehr. West Germany's rearmament officially began. The memory infrastructure built by Speidel stood for decades, protected by Lucy Rommel, untouchable. In Augustdorf, Germany's largest military base stands today. The General Field Marshal Rommel Kaserne. His name is etched on the gate, a permanent part of the state's hardware. For years, it was a site of pilgrimage. Veterans of the Afrika Korps gathered at his grave. Even former British and Commonwealth opponents paid respects. a ritual of shared, edited memory. Then, a new generation of historians opened the files. Alaric Searle, Peter Lieb. They bypassed the myth. They questioned his true involvement in the July 20th plot. They examined his relationship with the regime, not as a victim, but as a component of the system. The analysis centered on a single question: was Rommel a reluctant soldier or a benefiting officer who broke only when the system turned on him? The debate does not end.